Hi guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Sean Connery 4K Collector's Edition and the standard release that's coming out this year. So we've been shown the collector's box set with the 6 steelbooks for the Sean Connery films. This doesn't include Never Say Never Again because that isn't an official Eon MGM release. But yeah, we're talking about the rest of the Connery films. And they've also announced the standard release box set, which will contain the 6 films on UHD 4K discs. So we're going to talk about that today on the channel. So welcome back. So yeah, had the opportunity to sort of see some artwork for the steelbooks. Let's start on the steelbooks first. Yeah, it comes in like 6 steelbooks in a case, which you've seen with many other releases that have been done for other film franchises. And you know, they're kind of like a foam sort of inlay so that the steelbooks are protected, and that's really nice. The outer design of that's not too bad. You know, it's quite plain, but it's got the 007 logo on it, Sean Connery sort of collection, you know, sort of put on the outer box. So I don't have an issue with that. However, the steelbook designs, yeah, really think they're quite lazy, if you ask me. Just sort of images of Sean Connery in the different films. Nothing particularly sort of inspiring, if you ask me. I think the artwork choice is quite lazy. I don't believe we've seen the back of the steelbooks yet, but certainly the front images aren't anything to write home about, if you ask me. This does seem to be an issue with sort of 007 films in the past. Very few of them sort of have actually had reasonable designs on them, and they all seem to be very sort of hit and miss. What really baffles me about it is we've had such wonderful poster art for the James Bond films over the years. Not so much the Daniel Craig area, because I think with those ones they've become almost more generic, with just sort of Daniel Craig and maybe one of the Bond girls on the front, sort of in a pose. Whereas with the classic Bond films, we always had sort of a montage of different sort of scenes from the film. You know, some of the artwork that was done was absolutely fantastic, and I think as James Bond film fans, we really want to see that artwork on steelbooks, very much like other franchises that I can name, like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars. So yeah, it does baffle me that you know, they've gone for these designs. You know, they had the perfect opportunity to create a really nice box set for the Sean Connery films using the poster art for each film, but they've gone for this sort of standard, you know, just a generic image. You know, I mean, yeah, they're great images of Sean Connery in the films, but not for a steelbook that represents the film, if you ask me. Now, whether maybe possibly the sort of the back of the steelbook may contain the artwork, the poster artwork, is yet to be sort of revealed. I think they did that with the Disney Star Wars steelbooks, where they sort of had an image of a character on the front, but then on the back they had the poster art. But obviously we're talking about Warner Brothers here, we're not talking about Disney, so, you know, a different company. And ultimately Warner Brothers seem to distribute the media for MGM stroke Amazon now. And that leads me on to another question as to why we don't get the poster art on these James Bond steelbooks, and just the general releases that we've had over the years of the DVD and then the Blu-ray, and then I guess they're going to do it with the 4K. I guess they will release standard releases, individual ones of these maybe after this initial sort of collector's edition comes and is released. But I do wonder whether it's something to do with licensing. Now I'm wondering whether, because Amazon now own the sort of the rights to James Bond, are they sort of charging a huge fee for licensing for these posters? It just seems an odd choice that Warner Brothers sort of go for this very sort of generic, uninspired artwork that we're seeing on these sort of releases. Now I'm going to show you a release which I didn't actually think was too bad, and this was for Dr. No. I recently picked this one up. Again, this is done by Warner Brothers. Just to show you the back there, you get some really nice sort of postcards, a poster, and there's a really nice booklet in there, a little model. This outer artwork is representative of the sort of title sequence in the film, so it has some relevance. And again, they've ported that over to the Steelbook. It's still very, very plain in my opinion. I think, again, it would have been far nicer if they'd have done the poster art. There's various posters for Dr. No which they could have easily put onto a Steelbook, but they missed that opportunity with this release. I think this is okay. It's simple. It's it just got the name of the of the film on the front there. You've got the 2 dots, so I can kind of forgive this one. It's not that bad. As part of the set, it's quite nice. It keeps in keeping with it, but I would have preferred to have seen poster art on the Steelbook. Now I do have the Goldfinger Steelbook, which came out 2 variants of this. This was the first release, which has a Sean Connery and Pussy Galore on the front there, Honor Blackman, and I forget the lady's name, but she was covered in gold in the film. Forget the actress's name. This came with a J card, and the inside artwork for this was really nice. It's like sort of drawings of the DB5, which is obviously featured in the film. Now, I can kind of forgive this artwork. It's okay, but again, I would have preferred sort of poster art. However, what I did, I went the custom route, and I actually got a magnet produced. Again, this wasn't official art, but it's a nice montage of various, well, you've got the that scene there, obviously is in the film. You've got Bond there with the DB5. You've got Goldfinger and Oddjob. Really, really nice, simple but effective design. I'd like to see something like this sort of on a Steelbook release. Again, the back of this I think is the same image pretty much on the back of this. I'm not going to take this out now because this is a magnet, but yeah, this kind of thing is what I think us Bond fans would far rather see on Steelbooks and even on the standard Amarais. Now I'll move on to some of my favourite James Bond films, and again, this one, Octopussy. Now again, this is a magnet that I had got produced. Again, the wonderful artwork that we've got for the title of the the movie poster, one of the main movie posters. Fantastic. Why can't they produce that on a Steelbook? It's fantastic. It captures the film, it captures the feel of it, and this is what us Bond fans want. So I've popped this onto a standard Amarais case. Don't have a Steelbook for this, but I've just sort of popped some magnetic strips to attach the magnet on, and I think it's absolutely great. It's a really nice design for the film. Now, I've also done it for various other Roger Moore films. We've got Moonraker there. Again, fantastic design, that one. Again, popped onto the back of the Amaray case. And also for The Living Daylights. I mean, again, great, great poster art, this. Captures the film, all the different scenes. And it really draws you in. Now, if they were to produce steelbooks with these designs on, they would be flying off the shelves. People would be, they'd sell out, because there's such a huge Bond fan base. But they tend to go for sort of standard images. I'll get this one out and we can just have a look at the image that we've got on the standard release. You can see there's the strips that I've put on. I just stuck them to the case. This was a 4K case, but I just wanted the black to sort of blend in with it all. But here we go. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, that's a nice image. I don't like all of this at the top here. This was when they were promoting Ultraviolet. You got a scene from the film there. That's really nice. But if you ask me, which would you prefer to see? I'll just get it out of the package. Would you rather see that, or would you rather see that? I know my vote is for this, definitely. And I feel it's a perfect opportunity for, if they're going to release all of the Bond films on 4K UHD, give us collector's editions with this artwork on. There's so much different artwork. I do have a video sort of looking at some of my favourite poster art, and I will leave a link for that at the end of the video. Also have a Bond playlist as well, so I think there's a video on there where I look in a bit more in depth into that poster book, and there's various variations of poster designs for each film that were done. Certainly more in the latter years, in the Roger Moore era, there were sort of different designs that were done, and these could be incorporated onto steelbooks, and you can make really, really great designs. Just show you something else that I had done recently, and again, if you follow the channel and you've sort of been seeing my James Bond sort of unboxings of late, or you looked at the James Bond playlist, you'll have seen this. So again, this is a custom slipcover that I've had done for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So again, this is one of the main posters for the film, and there's another one there as well, which I've taken off of the internet, and I found a company online on Etsy, a guy that does these custom slipcovers. I mean, when you take it off, you then have got the standard artwork in there. Now, I have to say that is quite a good image. That again was a poster. I would say that is probably one of the better images on a standard Amaray, and would look great on a steelbook. I think that would look great probably on the back of a steelbook, and maybe sort of this artwork sort of on the front, or even that artwork. But I think that's what we want to see as Bond fans. You're going to get a UHD copy or a collector's edition, to celebrate these films. And there's a lot of anniversaries coming up for these films. It's a perfect opportunity for Amazon. I mean, they've paid out such a lot of money for the Bond franchise, and to me, them being obviously they sell physical media, why they're not sort of jumping on the opportunity to create sort of wonderful collector's editions, that they could sell, and they would sell out. These would be like hotcakes. I mean, if they could go for something on the lines of Doctor No, you know, in a nice hard case. They could put a steelbook in there for each film. Yeah, give us posters, give us some art cards, a nice little booklet about the making of the film. You know, it would really sort of, you know, it would give service to the fans. So let's get back onto the Sean Connery collection UHDs that have been announced. So they've also given us the standard artwork for the sort of just the 6 films on going to come in an Amaray case. And again, who's created this? It's a, you know, a crazy montage of a few images. Kind of looks like it's sort of torn and just stuck together. There's sort of Japanese text on there. I guess they've taken it from some of the Japanese posters. Yes, you know, some of those Japanese posters for the Bond film posters were great, you know, really great images, but this, it just looks like it's photoshopped together. It's awful if you ask me. At least, you know, come up with something that's you know, the fans are going to sort of want. And to me, it just, as a Bond collector, I just look at that and just think, I wouldn't buy that. You know, even if there's sort of the 4K discs on there, which, yeah, again, we don't know about the transfer yet. I believe they are 4K masters, new masters that have been done. Apparently they've got Dolby Vision or HDR10 as well. Obviously, depending on your equipment, you know, some people can only view HDR10 like myself, but you've got the capability if you have a TV or projector with Dolby Vision. There's also a Dolby Atmos soundtrack been added to all of the films as well, and that's quite nice that they've obviously remixed these. We've only ever had sort of 5.1 mixes on these films. Now, for some of the purists out there that really like the mono tracks, apparently they will have mono tracks, certainly on the earlier films, sort of Doctor No and From Russia with Love. Those first 2 or 3 films only were, well, it was filmed in, mix was done in mono. So I guess for purists, there's going to be those mono tracks on there. And I think some people maybe who are sort of sound purists maybe don't want the Atmos, but I think for a lot of us sort of general collectors, you know, an Atmos is always appreciated because it gives you a bit more immersive you know, sound. I mean, with my setup with a 5.1 DTS master audio, it will upmix it and it will give you sort of a kind of sort of immersive slant to it. But yeah, it's always appreciated that there's sort of, you know, a Dolby Atmos or a DTS:X mix added, so at least there's that. As far as the discs go, apparently there's only going to be UHD disc in each for each film. There's no Blu-ray. Apparently all the supplemental information, all the documentaries that were on the DVD, then ported over to the Blu-ray, will now be put onto this single UHD disc. Now I'm guessing that there'll all be 100 gig discs, triple layer discs, because obviously with 4K it has a lot more data that it needs to store to, well, to be able to show the image, the HDR, the sound and all the rest of it. So putting all of those extra features on, and there are a lot of sort of individual you know, with documentaries, teaser trailers, you know, there's a lot of sort of supplemental information going on to each of these discs. So again, I'm not quite sure whether that's a good idea. It would have been better to have had a Blu-ray disc for the supplemental, so that the 4K master can really sort of has that bandwidth on the disc, that data sort of, you know, to be able to sort of really show a great presentation. So again, that's a bit of a concern. it almost seems like they're trying to just jam pack everything onto one disc. And apparently Warner Brothers are sort of noted for doing this, which is a little bit of a shame. And apparently, from what I've heard, there's no new sort of supplemental, no retrospectives. I mean, obviously Sean Connery's passed away, but I'm sure they could still sort of speak to some crew, you know, people who are involved in the production of these films, to sort of maybe do retrospectives. But apparently there's no new documentaries sort of planned for these releases, which is a real shame. But I don't even think there was anything new on the Dr. No release, which was the sort of anniversary edition. You just had the special features that were included, you know, in the set. And also with this collector's edition Steelbook, apparently the only thing that you get as an extra is like a little card, which is an certificate of authenticity. Well, as a collector, really those kind of things are a bit pointless, if you ask me. Yeah, okay, it might be a limited edition, but realistically these things, you know, they sometimes produce, you know, thousands and thousands of these. Do we really need to get hung up on numbers? I'd far rather have seen like a booklet for each release, you know, giving you a little bit of background to the film production, very much like Arrow do, you know, sort of talking about the restoration, cast and crew. I mean, there's such a wealth of information on these films they could put into a little booklet, or even just one booklet with just about the 6 films. Maybe put a few postcards in there and a poster as well. I mean, the collector's edition is not cheap. I can understand them not doing that for the Amaray release, the standard Amaray release, but when you're talking about a collector's edition, you know, you'd hope that they would put some extra sort of bump in there. I know we call it tats, but you know, for collectors, that's kind of what you want. You want those little extra bits to make the set sort of really, really nice, and sort of a certificate of authenticity just doesn't really cut it for me. You know, it's kind of like, well, I'm not really that fussed about that. I'd rather have a booklet. I'd rather have some postcards, you know. Apparently the disc art as well looks very uninspired for all of these. You know, they're just like the 007 logo, and I think they're different coloured discs. Nothing amazing. Doesn't look that great to me. So overall, you know, I don't think I'll be picking up. Well, I won't be picking this set up. Certainly not the collector's edition Steelbook. I mean, I'd already made up my mind. I don't really have the space to sort of store that anyway. I only have 2 of the Connery films, Dr. No, which is a recent pickup, and Goldfinger. I don't feel I need to own all of the Connery films. Those 2 are kind of, well, Dr. No being the first Bond film, for me that's quite a nice sort of nice addition to have, and Goldfinger being my favourite Connery film. But even that standard Amaray case, it just doesn't, that artwork to me just looks ridiculous. You know, I just think, I can't understand whoever designed that, why they think that looks good. But I'm sure that some people out there will like it, you know. But with physical media now, I think, you know, it really needs to be more about the collectors. You know, a lot of people that aren't necessarily that fussed about artwork and stuff, you know, they're probably happy to stream these films. But I think, you know, sort of collector's editions now really need to speak to the to the collectors, you know, and if they sort of get these releases that seem a bit lazy, not really been thought about properly for the collector market, people are just not going to buy them. You know, they'd rather go down the custom route, create their own steelbook designs. You know, we've got companies now. We found a company recently on Etsy that's creating stickers that you can create your own artwork and they'll put it onto a sticker, and then you can attach that to a blank steelbook, so you can create your own steelbooks or your own slip covers with custom design. You know, there are sort of companies out there, one on Etsy, it is an American company, but he creates sort of outer boxes for, you know, different franchises. I think he has done some for Bond as well. I'm not saying the outer box for that Steelbook Collection is terrible. It's not too bad. It's quite plain, quite sort of uninspiring, but it's okay. It's just those Steelbook designs that I just think they've made the wrong choice on. But there are a lot of different options now for collectors to kind of create their own editions for themselves. You know, people are kind of getting a bit tired of some of these sort of bog standard releases that some of the studios are doing. I think this is where the boutique labels are really thriving, because they are doing it for the collectors. They're sort of giving us alternate artwork, you know, sort of sleeves with sort of, you can swap the artwork around, outer boxes with different artwork, slip covers over the top of them like the Arrow ones with different artwork, tons of special features, and sometimes those special features are on a Blu-ray disc, and sometimes they've just been put onto the 4K. I think we need to make sure that we're still making sure that the 4K is going to be great quality. You don't want to compromise things by cramming too much onto one disc, you know, and the bit rates coming down and not really seeing much improvement over the Blu-ray. But yeah, so in conclusion, I won't be picking up these Sean Connery 4Ks. Possibly if they come on individual releases in the future, and depending on whether there's much of an upgrade over the Blu-rays that we've already got. I might pick up one or two, I don't know at this stage. Possibly Goldfinger I might upgrade, maybe Doctor No. But yeah, at this juncture, certainly for this year, for those two releases, I'm just not interested in them. So be interested to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think of these releases? Are you going to pick up either of these? Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts down below. Please give the video a thumbs up. That really does help out the channel. Tells YouTube that you like these sorts of videos. That encourages me to create more content for you to enjoy. If you're new here, why not consider subscribing to the channel? Come and join the channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll be informed when I upload a new video. I've got a wealth of playlists on the channel. I've got the James Bond playlist again that you can go and check out. Lots of different videos on there about my James Bond collection. And from time to time I do little chats about the James Bond franchise, physical releases that are coming out. And just there's a lot of talk at the moment with Amazon sort of taking over control and what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm, you know, trying to keep up with the news and share my thoughts on the Bond franchise. Right guys, well that's the end of the video. Take care. See you next time. Bye now.